My name is Tristan.
Hello, hi, Tristan.
10 days ago, I sat down in front of my laptop, staring at a blank screen, thinking about what I was going to share for the next 10 minutes. And I realized that perhaps one of the best ways I can offer everyone here some sort of encouragement is to tell you about how God has worked in my personal life. My testimony today specifically concerns how God has healed me. Not physically, but emotionally and indeed spiritually. Recently, my dad showed me some video recordings of me from my preteen years, and I was again reminded that I used to be the most outgoing and confident kid. Yes, I felt comfortable concocting the most embarrassing gimmicks in public places. I would not hesitate to engage anyone, young or old, stranger or relative, in a conversation of any manner. I looked people straight in the eye with a curious gaze, completely without shame. I grasped any opportunity to share my findings, ideas, opinions, and thoughts. Daddy, Daddy, my younger self would squeal as I ran down the hallway of my old Los Altos home, darting towards my dad to show him some toy, to ask a question, to claim a hug. And as I watched these videos, I thought to myself, was that really me? Of all the people I encountered up to the age of 9, almost all were encouraging to me. And then I was enrolled in a gifted class in a Taiwanese elementary school. So for about half the time I was at school, I worked with the same cluster of 40 students and the same 4 teachers for 4 years. And when I graduated in 2012, those that knew me best, most of all my parents, noticed that I've changed. Academically, I was just as committed and passionate, but socially I became alarmingly reclusive. I began to forcefully avoid any social gatherings and shun conversations with most strangers, adults, and girls. I maintained only a close circle of friends at school, and any friends I made at school I made passively. I lost confidence, muttered when I talked, nodded silently and promptly by adults, walked around with my head down, and averted eye contact when I spoke. I carried my strange reclusiveness over into middle school, getting no better. Only several years later did my parents realize that for the 4 years I spent in my gifted class, I was repetitively and regularly shamed, taunted, and teased by a group of students as well as one of the teachers. The bullying never proceeded beyond verbal, but there was no denying the negative effects it had on my courage and confidence. My parents were appalled. They had little idea such a thing had happened without their knowledge for so long. My dad was furious, particularly at the teacher. I myself had little idea what happened to me, but that was that, and without a doubt it'd be a pretty depressing story if it just stopped there. Thank God it didn't. I don't know whether what I was going through counted as depression. What I do know is that whenever I had to interact with people, I felt shameful, unworthy, and lost. But God's intention is to save the lost, and from the moment I began to succumb to the temptation of doubt and shame, He never ceased to reach out to me in myriad ways with the intention of restoring my courage. On the Easter Sunday of 2012, I was baptized in Taiwan by a pastor that had never spoken with me. This was the church we would attend in Taiwan for the next 3 years, but then we were relatively new. I was watching a recording of my baptism at home the other day. I was the 4th of 5 people to be baptized that day. Just to illustrate how little the pastor knew about me, right before the baptism began, my pastor mixed up my name with my brother's and had to be corrected by my dad. He called me Lucas. The procedure of baptism in my church in Taiwan was a little different. The pastor would say a blessing specifically to the needs of each person during the baptism. Such blessings were administered on the spot and were not requested or scripted beforehand, and everyone's blessing was different. For some people, it was about disease. Others, hope or peace or resisting of temptation. For me, my pastor said this: Lord, open up his heart, open up the heart of this child, for you have called him from among his peers. You know that in Tristan there is some sort of timidness, but Lord, timidness was not what you intended, but you restore for him a firm, a courageous heart, so that he may praise your name and fight your battles for your glory's sake. Afterward, my entire family, my parents and I, were shocked at my pastor's words. She couldn't even put my name to my face and knew nothing about my personal history. She didn't know anything about the bullying I endured, the reason behind my social timidness, and yet she did nothing short of declaring my greatest weakness and my most buried secret. But this was not just my pastor's voice. To me, it felt like God speaking directly to me through her. And that time, I was surprised, but I wasn't ready to take it to heart. About 2 years later, my family and I were in Jerusalem for spring break, having signed up to go with a church group. Our intention was to walk the historic path of Jesus and his apostles. One night we were at a prayer house. Our pastors and several of our church members were acquainted with this organization, so when we stopped by, they were glad to receive our church group and pray for all of us, including my entire family, who to them again were complete strangers. So, as we began to pair off, we could receive individual prayer. And this was when this partner of mine pressed her hand on me to pray for me. She had barely began praying when this other woman leaned in and told me promptly, "I saw this vision in you when Linda was speaking to you." Linda was the one praying for me at the beginning. And she began to describe the vision. She said, "God's finger was writing on your heart." And I was confused because that didn't register to me why she was saying this. And she repeated, "Jesus endorses your heart. The essence of God's calling is now in your heart. I therefore rebuke any accusations by the devil that you are unworthy, and would rebuke any mental torment to accuse you that you don't measure up. I saw the Lord take away the taunts and teasings of the enemy and place a victor's crown on your head, and he will give you the power to overcome. Do not listen to the lies of the adversary anymore." I walked away from that prayer house feeling inexplicably strange. Again, my family didn't tell anybody about me being bullied. I was taunted and teased by my classmates and teacher during elementary school. Yet here I was miles away from home in Israel to see the places Christ had walked 2 millennia ago. And yet I felt clearly that here he was, alive, speaking to me through fellow Christians who had never met me, calling me to shake off my hurt and come to him in the most intimate manner, just like the day of my baptism 2 years ago, but I still hadn't broken free yet. When we moved back here to the Bay Area in 2015, I took my timidness with me. This was the first year I attended focus group. For those of you who attended focus group 2 sessions ago, you might be able to recall how quiet I was and how different I behaved around other people compared to me right now. But I didn't attend youth group. In fact, I strongly objected to coming to this very youth group. What I told my parents was that it would be irrelevant, it would be boring, it would be a nuisance. The truth was that I just couldn't bear the thought of having to be among so many people and feeling confused and lost. One summer day of 2016, my family was attending River of Life Christian Church. After the sermon, the gospel music was playing, and the pastor invited anyone who was sick or suffering from disease to go up to the stage to be prayed for. My brother Lucas has bow legs. So when he went up with my mom, and I stood there at the pew singing, waiting for my brother to come back so we could leave. Then my dad suddenly turned to me and told me, "Tristan, go up." So I stopped singing, and I turned to tell him, "I'm not sick." But then I didn't say this with confidence, because deep down I knew this wasn't true. I was sick. So my dad said again, "Tristan, go up to the stage." And I said again, more annoyed and indignantly, "I'm not sick." And I was so aware this time that I was lying. I felt my stomach sort of bunch up. I felt horrible. I was so aware this time I was lying. I felt My dad said another time, "Tristan, go up." I just didn't have it to protest anymore. I walked up to the stage alone, and it was one of the longest walks of my life. I felt exposed, ashamed, vulnerable, and dreadful, because by walking up, I was admitting to everyone that I was sick, and everyone was watching. And when I got up to the front, I told the first attendant I met, "I need healing. I need courage. Could you pray for me?" And he prayed for me. The prayer was so brief, it lasted barely 30 seconds, and when I walked out of church that day, I didn't feel too different. I didn't notice some heavy weight lifted from my shoulders, or a new spring to my step, or some happy thoughts flooding into my head. I was just me. And yes, ever since that incident, and the past hurt, and the past shame, and the past doubt began to fall away piece by piece by piece. Even some of you sitting right here may have realized how much I changed, starting from just about a year ago. Then I was silent around people. Now I can't seem to stop talking around people. Some of you probably like, "I wish Tristan would stop talking so much." Then I was passive. Now I instigate conversations. Then I rarely showed up and didn't care about youth group or special events. Now I come to every youth group and attend almost every special event. And I talk to the mass majority of you on the regular. For those of you who regularly attend, I even asked you to learn all your names. I stopped doubting. I stopped feeling unworthy or ashamed or afraid. I started taking heart and trusting. I started interacting. I started caring. And I was free. And now you might be wondering, "Tristan, are you saying your pastor in Taiwan was a prophet? That the woman in Jerusalem was a prophet? And that he attended a river of life had healing powers?" But I'm not here to dispute these things. And frankly, it doesn't matter all that much. That's not the point. Why I'm telling you this is that perhaps like a lot of you sitting here today, I was hurt. And I felt that God was reaching out to me. I was too scared, too broken, too ashamed to admit that I was hurt. So I lied to myself and I spent a long time stuck in my hurt. But that day in River Life Christian Church, I admitted to God that I was hurt, that I needed His help. And I believe that after that incident, God began to heal me. He restored me. And after a struggle that lasted 6 whole years, God gave me my confidence back. So what about you? Do you have buried secrets, hidden struggles, diseases, and hurts you feel you can't break free from? If so, I encourage you. Bring your struggles before God. Pray to Him for guidance, because when you are willing to humble yourself, make yourself vulnerable, admit to God that you are broken and shamed and hurt and in pain, He will reach out to you and show you mercy and grace in abundance, and He will restore you no matter what. Thank you.